So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're having an exploration through the journey of Gurrumul, the stories, the music, and the celebration of the Australian Aboriginal Indigenous culture. This is Gurrumul. And with Gurrumul, we have Michael Honan, who's his musical director, friend, and confidant. Michael's also the business partner of Mark Gross, sitting next to me, who is Skinnyfish Music. Please welcome them. So we're going to speak with Gurrumul, who will communicate through his music and through Michael and Mark. I just wanted to point out there's a book on Gurrumul's life, his life and his music, that is coming out or has come out this week. And it's an amazing book. I've had the pleasure of being able to read this and obviously preparing for this. But it's a fascinating, fascinating expose on this amazing man and what he has achieved so far. So gentlemen, welcome to Asia and Music Matters. We're so pleased to have you here. I think what we might do is we'll start as Gurrumul has been described as clever, sharp, funny, intuitive, sensitive, brutally honest, talented, and according to Sting, the sound of a higher being.
One guy comes out.
So, Michael, perhaps we can ask, who is Gurrumul?
Gurrumul's a fascinating man who I've known for 15, 16 years. I was a musician in Melbourne, classical, jazz, pop, and I got a bit sick of the same old thing that you hear, the same formulaic music that you hear with so much pop music. It's all slight variations on the same theme, I felt. And I wanted to discover more about the culture in which I was born, and I ended up on Gurrumul's Island in 1996, where I met Mark, who's now my business partner and Gurrumul's manager, and Gurrumul and I formed an immediate musical rapport. Gurrumul was born blind on an island surrounded by 10,000 Yolngu people speaking that language. There's 5 languages on the island, and Gurrumul speaks all those 5. And he's a Gumatj man. There's a lot to do with identity that I've discovered over the last 15 years of Aboriginal people in Australia, and Gurrumul was born with much more of an identity than a lot of people I know, non-Indigenous people. You know, I was born in Melbourne with a surname and a weight, birth weight. I was told who my parents were, and they came from Ireland or Scotland. Gurrumul is born with totems, the identity of the crocodile, the Gillawal, the scrub fowl, and fits into a clan. All 10,000 people in northeast Arnhem Land fit into an incredible clan. The language, the culture, the stories, the songs, the ceremony, the ancestors, the knowledge and the history is all very complex. And it's a beautiful, beautiful clan structure, and fascinating for me. You know, people go overseas to discover things from Australia. They go and see the pyramids. They go and see these cultural icons. In Australia, we have this fascinating cultural complex makeup, and Gurrumul is, I suppose, he's the voice for a lot of that culture.
And so today we're going to hear some songs from Gurrumul, but also you've brought with you a couple of film clips to better give the idea of what this is about. So maybe before we get there, can you talk a little bit about the Opera House show in Sydney, Australia, and what these clips will be and what the audience will see?
Sure. 5 or 6 years ago, we released a solo album. Gurrumul had been in a supergroup from Australia called Yotti Indi, toured around the world, and he did Saltwater Band, his own band, for 10 years, but then we did a solo album. That sold 500,000 copies. It was beautifully received. It's a delicate album, but it's just voice and guitar, double bass, very acoustic. The second album, Ruuben, we recorded in New York. It's a little bit more rich, but still people hear the voice. They don't really understand anything about the depth culture and language behind it. You know, not much of what he writes about is love songs. It's all complex, beautiful, cultural tapestry of song. What we've brought today is a brutal, honest, raw vision of some of the island and the way his family dance, the ceremony, the culture that supports what he's singing about.
Fantastic. Now, he learned to sing in a Methodist church, was that right? In a choir? Is that...
In Australia, different churches came and tried to settle different parts, and a lot of them went bush to save Aboriginal people from the from the colonies, from the stockmen, from everyone else. And anyway, the Uniting Church Methodists ended up at his island, so they adopted that denomination of Christianity.
Okay. So perhaps we can listen to a song. This is off the first album, as you said. It's a song called Bapa, which means father. And Gurrumul.
Paini is the spirit woman of...
So, Michael, that was amazing. Thank you, Gurrumul. Can you tell us about that song? It's called Father.
Everything in Yolngu culture has bigger meanings. So he wrote that about his own blood father. It's like a love song that you write to your father, saying essentially that I love you. But in the Yolngu culture, the father is more than just your blood father. They're their uncle, all of their uncles and many relations playing the role of that father too. So he's singing, it's broader than just, I love you, Dad.
What a great story. Mark, can you tell us a little about his musical journey, where he started, Skinnyfish Records, how you were involved?
Well, Michael and I met back in the late 1990s, and he was working with a band on Elko Island at the time, and I don't come from a musical background. I come from a community development background, really, and saw what impact music had on that community, saw that for the first time Indigenous Australians could stand next to non-Indigenous Australians on an equal footing. And so Michael was talking about starting a record label, and I just said to him, well, let's have a go. I'll come in with you. So it's been, nearly 15 years now, and one of the highlights, I've got to say, this has got to be a highlight for me, because I'm Gurrumul's manager, and how many managers get up to sit next to the artists when they're performing? So it's made my life.
First time.
It is the best seat on the stage.
There's no doubt.
In the house. It's amazing. I feel very, very fortunate. So you talk about father. How in the culture and in everything that Gurrumul does his family factor? His mother and father, his daughter?
Different cultures have a lot of different relationships towards their family. A lot of people disown their family. But Yolngu family, it's like one very big web, spider web, and everything's connected to everything else. So someone divorces themselves of that web, and the support structure goes away, the culture goes away, the stories go away. And because of the isolation of where Gurrumul lives in northeast Arnhem Land, that family structure is everything, and it's maintained. It's strong. It's culturally strong, which is why we have a language. And once language dies, I think culture dies, ceremony dies. You can't explain. There's so many things in Gurrumul's language you can't explain in another language.
And the history of the Aboriginal Indigenous people never involved a written text. So a lot that was shared with people from generation to generation. I think you've got 2,000 generations in this culture now. Involves storytelling. So does that affect in the same way of what he's doing? Does he see that as an important part of what he does?
Well, it's an oral culture. So everything is that Gurrumul has a story that is passed on through song, through dance, through painting, through the ceremonies. It's beautiful, Mark.
If you think, if you think streaming services are incredible, traditional Indigenous knowledge that the communities of Northern Australia would have in their memory thousands and thousands and thousands of songs. Every object in their environment has a song. Every single object, every person, every name, every rock, every tree. So, it's interesting to be here and listen to Gurrumul's repertoire, which some songs are older than the pyramids, and to be sitting here and also be at the same event where we're talking about streaming, 25 million songs in our catalogue, and I sort of see this connection between this cutting-edge conference and the oldest living culture in the world. I think that's what Michael and I have been trying to do, is to bring those two things together.
Shall we listen to another song? I think the second song that we're going to hear is a song called Spirit Woman, or Bayini.
Sure, there's a long history about the Macassans from Indonesia travelling and trading with Gurrumul's clan, the people of northeast Arnhem Land. So this essentially talks about this spirit woman, a beautiful figure. It's got an introduction by one of Gurrumul's clan elders, so I'll let him speak for it. It's called Bayini.
Bayini. Bayini is the spirit woman of Bapa. The same lady that got overboard when they threw her over from the ship, wrapped up with a chain. Bayini is the special. She was a special lady. As you can see, every time that we sing and talks about Bayini through the songs, always reminds about that she's still amongst us, and her spirit still lives with us. When we wear yellow materials, every time in the ceremony, any of the ceremonies that we wear yellow clothes, we always, feel proud that because of her, Bayini. Paini also, she always wear the bangles, all the shells and everything around her yellow, what's your name, dress every time. That's the only color that she wants because of that flag that was given from the McKesson. Now any other flag could go to our border and our areas as APAC because of Baini herself, she's remaining there and she's still alive. She always wear a yellow dress. That's why we are proud about Baini, very proud. In our language and octopus in Malayalam language. Wherever you go, whether you go through the course, you can see octopus. Octopus is the other totem for agriculture, which is our grandfather.
Thank you. Michael, I noticed his guitar is upside down.
Well, there's a few famous people around the world who have done that. It's a regular 6-string Martin, strung in a normal way, but he plays it upside down.
Okay. And when you... Please go ahead. It looks like you wanted to say something else. When you write together, how is that process? What do you do?
Gurrumul's got what I've discovered is hundreds and hundreds of songs in his head. And his culture also has a big improvising tradition, as do the Indian classical musicians and other cultures. And so he'll take a theme, he'll take a traditional song or story, and then work it around in his head until he'll come up with a pop sequence to it, an acoustic folk sequence to it. He's a big fan of the Eagles, Dire Straits, those big... the Eagles, especially the big songwriters with the lovely harmonies that he loves. So combining those songs and those stories with a contemporary chord structure.
The book talks about Dire Straits and specifically Brothers in Arms and also Stevie Wonder. And it seemed to me that in the book it related the idea that his musical influences were only as good as the things that were brought to where he lived. Is that the perception? Is that the reality?
Yeah, look, Gurrumul's always tried to do music at the standard of what he's heard. And what he's heard is those traditional men who are incredibly powerful singers with a huge repertoire, and the stars from around the world. Vince Gill.
Yeah.
Elvis. The Eagles. All of the stars.
And Mark, in terms of Gurrumul has worked with a number of people, collaborated with a number of people. Is that something you can talk about?
Well, I guess the most exciting collaboration was in Paris a few years ago with Sting, which was an interesting process and worked out really well in the end. But Baini, who the song that's just been sung, Sarah Blasco has sung on that song as well. There's a number of collaborations that Michael and Gurrumul are looking to in the future, and I think the third album, which hopefully we'll hear a little bit of today, opens itself to some greater collaborations. And I think when they were in India last year, there was quite a bit of excitement about the possibility of collaborating with some traditional Indian musicians as well. So, yep.
Great opportunity here to make some relationships around
Absolutely.
that. Can we talk a little bit about some of those future projects? You're doing the Opera House in Sydney, which is...
Yeah, we are. We just had good fortune of... We Don't Speak No Americano. They're Australian boys, and they've done a collaboration with Gurrumul of a crocodile song, and then a young 22-year-old in Australia called Flume, who everyone should check out, has done a beautiful musical soundtrack remix to it. The third album that we're working on now is a completely different sound. I was in New York last year recording with Gurrumul again, and the penny kind of dropped that although this music is beautiful folk music, it's really hard for people to kind of access in lots of ways. And I met a man who I've got a lot of respect for, Daniel Glass, who gave me an hour of his time in the studio, and he goes, I love Gurrumul, I play him at my parties, but, what do we do with him? And I said, I've got all of this other music. Gurrumul does all this beautiful other music, this traditional music. So we've kind of gone and recorded this almost traditional album, which is in some ways possibly his strongest voice. We're looking at doing it in a minimal way, repetition, and opening up with classical musicians and opening it up in a year's time for collaboration. So it's kind of like taking even a deeper cultural aspect of who he is and taking that out to the world and saying to William Orbit or, this Flume in Australia or whatever, what do you want to do with it?
Should we listen to some of that? I believe you've got a preview for us. It's a song, which are you going with? Should we do the video first?
This is actually the video that was, if you can play the video now, this is the third song. It's all about the octopus.
ngarpia in our language and octopus in Balanda language. Right, octopus. Wherever you go, whether you walk through the corals, you can see octopus. Octopus is the other totem for Agomach clan and also for Warami clan, which is our grandfather. Ngarpia created an island, which is all about vessels here, and think about how many arms do Ngarpia have? 8 arms, is it? Right. Those arms stretch right across through the northeast, which is the top end northeast Hanam, and got into several clans like Gomach, Talwango clan, nation, and Warami clan nation, and Wanguri clan nation, because of the 8 arms. So there's a lot of connections when we sing through the songlines. Those 4 clans always sings about Ngarpia, but different, same name, but different clans. We talks about the same Ngarpia because of that 8 arms.
Thank you so much. I just want to refer to this book again. There are so many great stories in there. We're going to have to leave the stage soon, but perhaps an anecdotal story out of the book to whet people's appetites if they care to buy it. There's some great stories in there about people that you've met along the way.
A quick anecdotal story is trying to understand his culture. Trying to understand Aboriginal culture is so tricky. You can spend heaps and heaps and heaps of time with his family, and they'll explain things again and again, and you just don't get it unless you understand the language. There's some really humorous examples of that sort of thing, trying to talk to his aunties about how the culture works, and the writer ending up just hitting his head and giving up. Wonderful.
Well, I'm so impressed to sit here and feel so honored to sit here and to look at what you've put together. And I think that what Gurrumul represents perhaps is a very interesting approach to life and music, to be true to yourself, to represent your culture, and to show the world what it is, and to bring the world in. I think that's something we can all learn from. I'd like to thank you, Gurrumul, for spending the time with us, and Michael and Mark. And also I'd like to thank Jasper, the branded crew, Tony, Ed, Chug, of course. And I hope that you support Gurrumul and what he does. There's many people in this room that can do many great things with Gurrumul. And thank you very much.